زاخارا خوش اومدید به ویدیو دیگه کانال پویانیزیو. برگشتیم با یه ویدیو خفن و این دفعه قراره ببینیم که هکرها چطوری 1 میلیارد دلار از بانکو دزدیدن. چون این ویدیو از چنل فرن خیلی چنل خفنیه، زیرنویس فارسی هم داریم، توضیح بیشتر نمیدم. لیتس گو.
July 10th, 2016. Two men
زیرنویسمون فارسی نیست.
walking into
Let's
the
go.
entrance of a bank.
زیرنویس فارسی هم داریم.
They're wearing medical masks and fisher hats. One of them guards the entrance, while the other stands in front of the ATM. He doesn't do anything though. He doesn't withdraw money with a card, nor does he try to blow it up. He just waits. And then something curious happens. The ATM starts spitting out banknotes to the bank. All he has to do is collect the money. As a stranger approaches, they immediately abort and leave. The stranger will find the cash just lying there.
What the
Even though it doesn't exactly look like it, he just walked into a massive heist.
آجی چقدر باید خوش شانس باشی. فکر کن همینطوری میری بانک پول بکشی بعد یه عالمه کش ریخته رو زمین. What the fuck.
20 others did the same thing at other
20
branches.
نفر دیگه.
This is just one puzzle piece of a larger operation.
Oh
a 2-year-long
God.
sophisticated attack that shook the global financial system to its core. More than 100 banks in over 30 countries with stolen funds amounting to roughly 1 billion
100 تا بانک توی 30 تا کشور.
US dollars to its
درست
core.
درست دیگه.
More than 100 banks in over 30 countries with stolen funds amounting to roughly 1 billion US dollars.
1 میلیارد دلار دزدیده شده همشون با هم دیگه.
Orchestrated by hackers. The Carbonac Group. They are led by one elusive mastermind. But on this one night in Taipei, he and his team made a crucial mistake.
چیکار
One that they
کردن؟
would pay a heavy price for.
Carbonac was a game changer, I think.
Poof. The attackers, they have the password of the administrator. So at that point we knew that they were watching what we were doing.
It's very hard to arrest a piece of code.
پشمام. آجی خیلی هکر بودن باحاله. شات اوت تو فرن. بچه‌ها خیلی هکر بودن باحاله. یکی از خفن ترین و کول ترین چیزایی که میتونه انجام بده هکر باشه. یه دونه گروه هم به اسم ایرانی‌ها داریم بچه‌ها. فکر کنم اسمشون چی بود؟ نمیدونم چیچی کتس. آره این گروه هکری داریم خیلی گروه خفنی هم هستن. این میشناسید
Labs on the basis of their documentary series Tomorrow Unlocked. Also check out this great podcast episode by Darknet Diaries on the story. Link in the description.
Okay.
The actual events of this hack are known, but the names of the attacked banks and involved employees were never disclosed. So to tell this story, we created Maxim. That's
Maxim. Okay.
It's the 8th of April.
یکی از داخل از 100% بوده دیگه. این چی بهت میگم؟
He's a well-respected employee,
بانک
but he has a
اوکراینی.
bad habit
Okay.
of not installing his Windows updates.
او
As he sips his
آپدیت
coffee
نمیکنه.
and thinks about the receptionist he has a crush on, an email from his colleague pops in. It's from Sergey, his coworker.
Okay.
The mail has a Word document attached. It translates into Compliance with Federal Law 115, dated 21/7/2014. Sounds important enough. Maxim clicks on it. He reads it, closes it, and continues his very ordinary workday.
نه.
A few months later, Maxim is sitting in a meeting.
Okay.
His boss seems distraught. Some of his bank's ATMs started spitting out banknotes at seemingly random times of day. It seems like whoever was lucky enough to show up at the right time could just grab the money. The bank might be the victim of a cyber attack. The employees should act cautious and avoid suspicious emails. Emails, meetings, stress, colossal hacks. For many, it's the same story every day. What if you want to throw in the towel and build something of your own? Udo is an all-in-one platform that gives you everything you need to do Udem if you want. They even powerful app and start problem.
As happens. All your ATMs something as happens.
This is Jort van der Wiel. He was part of the team on the case. He checks the hard disks of the affected ATMs for malware and finds nothing. Not one suspicious activity, not a single trail to follow.
پشمام حاجی فکرشو بکن هیچ رد پایی من خودشون نذاشتن.
A few months later, van der Wiel gets a call in the middle of the night. It's 3 a.m. It's an account manager working for a large Russian bank. He says van der Wiel and his team need to call his IT guy ASAP. A couple of minutes later, one of van der Wiel's Kaspersky co-workers shows up at a bank in Russia. The IT guy on the site is panicking. Someone has gained control over their domain controller. That's the heart of their server network. If you control the domain controller in a Windows environment.
بچه یه طوری که دومین کنترلر اینه که کل ویندوزا کل کامپیوترها به این وصلن. اینو هک کنید به کل کامپیوترها این بانک مثلا دسترسی دارن. پشمام. این
You basically control
آخر
everything.
سخار هک
And
مثلا
without a
میگه
good reason, it's sending
اینه.
data to China. The Kaspersky specialist
Ooh,
starts to
what?
look for malware right away.
روسیه از چین
Eventually,
هک
he finds
شدن.
a software that lets you watch and control a computer remotely. Could it be
Okay.
that the intruder is watching them right now? He has an idea. He opens a Word document and writes the Russian word for hello. They wait for a few minutes.
Привет.
Nothing happens. Then, suddenly, the cursor moves, and letters appear. The hacker answered. He adds, in Russian, "You will not catch us." To which the Kaspersky employee replies, "We will catch you." No, you will not catch us.
پشمام
It's on.
پشمام حاجی فکر کن چقدر طرف از خودش مطمئنه که میگه شما
It
رو
takes some
نمیگیری
time.
شما رو
Eventually, the
نمیگیری
Kaspersky team finds the malware. It is
Okay,
similar to the
بالاخره پیداش
Trojan.
کردن.
One configuration file of the malware is called Ananak, so the team decides to call it Carbonac. This
Okay.
incident at the Russian bank gave Van der Wiel and his colleagues hints about what is going on, and they link it all back to those hacked ATMs in Ukraine. Now they can reconstruct how the Carbonac hackers operate. So let's wind back.
اوکی چطوری انجام میدن این هک‌ها رو؟
This is one of the Carbonac hackers. Again, it's the 8th of April, 2014. He
2014
already
خیلی
got into
قدیم
Sergey's
داره
email account, but he wants
اینقدر
access to Maxim's computer. So he
پیشرفته
sends
نبوده
out
بنده
this
زدم.
email with that attachment. The Word file exploits vulnerabilities in Microsoft Word to download malware that contains a backdoor.
پشمام
The hacker now has remote access to Maxim's computer. Next step, gain access to the whole network, and he knows exactly how to do it. The hacker installs a specific software on Maxim's computer, which slows it down, which in turn frustrates Maxim, so he calls IT to come by and check. By the time the IT guy comes over, the hacker has installed a keylogger. This way he will be able to see everything one types into Maxim's keyboard. The IT guy starts to investigate. To do so, he needs to type in his admin password. And bingo.
نه
The hacker got
رمز
the admin's
ادمینش رو
password.
اینا رو
He tries it out on the
میزنه
domain controller. And yep,
باز میشه
it's the same. Now he can go
پشمام
look for the computer in the network that controls the
Whoa,
money
what the
transfers in the
fuck?
ATMs. But he doesn't attack right away. Instead, for months he silently observes the employees managing the transactions. Once he
my
fully understands
God.
the process, he proceeds to steal the
ما هم تازه واسطه که یاد بگیریم اینا چطوری سیستمشون رو ران میکنن که بیشتر بدون
money.
راجع
The
به سیستم
Carbonac group
کلا
developed 3 different methods. One way is to transfer money from so-called transaction management accounts to their own
Okay.
accounts. To avoid suspicion, they raise the balances by the stolen amount beforehand, keeping the total unchanged. Since banks check
Ooh.
accounts only every 10 hours, the transfers go unnoticed. Another way is to
پشمام.
take control of specific ATMs to let them spill out banknotes right into the hands of money mules.
اوکی
These are
همین
men
اتفاق
hired through the
میفته
Moldovan mafia who collect the money and send it to their bosses. In exchange, they
Okay.
get to keep a small cut. The third method is the most sophisticated. The hackers set up a couple of bank accounts in the names of their money mules, including debit cards. Then they make sure they all have the same small amount on it, let's say
Okay.
$3.33. Then they update the bank's database, exchanging that $3.33 for $1 million. Suddenly, all the money mules have $1 million on their bank account. Now they just use their debit cards to withdraw the cash. As
Holy
a side effect of the
shit
database update, some broke bank customers will suddenly find themselves to be millionaires. The better the
اوه،
Kaspersky
چقدر
team
میتونی
understands the
کش
methods of
بکشی
the
بیرون.
Carbonac group, the more they begin to grasp how complex this operation is. Kaspersky teams up with Europol, major European banks,
با
and various
چند
national
تا
law enforcement
تیم
agencies to
با
hunt them
کلی از
down.
کشور
They're able
فقط
to
با
take
یک
down
گروه
some of their
هکری میخواستن
servers,
به
but then
جنگن
the hackers start using different tools and continue to work under the radar. By the beginning of 2015, Carbonac has robbed at least 100 financial institutions in almost 30
تا
countries.
بانک مختلف رو هک
Most of the victims
کردن
are in Russia, but also in the US, China, and Europe. Within 2 years, they steal roughly $1 billion.
یک
They appear to
میلیارد
be
دلار
unstoppable until someone screws up.
کی بایی داده کی کل داستان بایده کی بوده
The first bank reported that over 70 million NT dollars was withdrawn illegally. The withdrawals were made in both Taipei and Taichung across 34 ATMs and 20 branches.
In July 2016,
Shimon.
Carbonac attacks the so-called first bank in Taipei, but the Taiwanese police are quick on their feet. Very quick.
我们从被盗领的 ATM 的影像先去调。
At least 500 police officers checking the CCTVs. We check all the footages
پشمام
from the ATMs back to the hotels of all the suspects.
这一个
چقدر تایوان
的一个身份
What the
陆
fuck
续接下来
همه دور اینا رو دارن
3-4
چک میکنن تو
天的
کل
时间
خیابونا
全部
پشما
把22位的一个身份
22 money mules, most of them Russian, the rest from Eastern European countries. 19 of them successfully flee Taiwan, but 3 remain in the country. with the
سه
money.
تاشون مونده
Their
بودن
faces are all over the media. To escape, they have to get rid of the money somehow. One of them hides 2 sports bags with some of the money at the Dongku Park. He then
Okay.
flees to Yulong County and hides there. But he is caught and leads the police back to the sports bags. But instead of
معلوم
2,
میده سری
there is only 1 left. An elderly man found one of the bags and took it home.
He probably think that
پشما
was fortune from God.
The police seized the second bag and
یهو
searched for
اون
the
چقدر
other money.
خوش شانس بوده
The
پشمام
man called
باورم
Bonnie
نمیشه
hides the
اصلا
rest of the money in 2 suitcases and stows them in 2 lockers at Taipei Central Station. Shortly after, 2 other men from Eastern Europe arrive in Taiwan and collect the suitcases from the main station. They go to a hotel to have brunch.
اوکی
As they sit down, they're interrupted by the police.
Put down the knife, your fork, stay calm, don't move. Признайте transaction with us, such as Ryan.
They ask the men to take them to their hotel room.
Сколько у вас человек всего?
Здесь нас двое.
Нет, целая группа.
پشما
Чего группа?
Вот это преступление.
In their hotel room, law enforcement finds banknotes that are worth roughly
چقدر
1.5 million
پول.
US dollars.
1 میلیون
The
دلار
Taiwanese police managed to recover 90% of the stolen money. The 3 money mules are sentenced to a little over 4 years in prison.
4
These
سال
guys are just
زندان
low-level operatives. But on the phone of one of the men, the Taiwanese police find pictures of stacks of money in various currencies. They also find
پشما
emails from the suspected head of the Carbonac group. Europol, the FBI, cybersecurity companies, and several authorities from
چند تا
different
کشور
countries
کل
work
دنیا
tirelessly
متحد شده
to
بودن
find the
خار اینا رو
Carbonac mastermind. Little do they know he is hiding all the way across the globe, living a life in luxury.
نه رئیسشون هم دستگیر شده مغز پشت داستان کی بوده
March 6th, 2018. This is
2018
Dennis. He's Ukrainian, but now he lives with his wife and son in Alicante, Spain. He's a rather
اسپانیا
private person. He doesn't really leave the house. Right now, as per usual, he's coding new malware. He's one of the best of his trade. To keep a low
Sure.
profile, he does most of his spending in Bitcoin. At the time, he's worth 15,000 Bitcoins. In 2018, that was
15000
worth
تا
roughly $162
بیتکوین
million.
طرف 200
Today,
میلیون
it
درام
would be more than $1 billion.
1
But there are some
میلیارد
things that
درآمد
Bitcoin can't buy. Not a lot of car or house sellers like to be paid in digital currencies. So he needs to use real money to buy these, which leaves traces. This is what
Damn.
tipped off the police. They start to follow the money and eventually realize who he is.
نه
His laptop is still on and unlocked. The forensic team immediately starts to collect
پشما
evidence. The authorities will seize 2 BMWs and jewelry valued at $500,000 and of course his bitcoins.
پشما
But the vast majority of the stolen $1 billion remains missing to this day.
1 میلیارد دلار میس شده
Dennis K. may have been the mastermind behind the Carbonac operation, but he certainly didn't work alone.
We think there was quite a big team, at least between 10 and 30 people all together that was able to pull this scheme
خیلیاشون
off.
فرار
You find
کردن
the
خیلیشون
same
اون
piece
پولا
of
فرار
code
کردن حاجی
being used by different groups. And it's very hard as a security researcher to
پشما
to know the difference which group is using what code because the code is very similar. It's very hard to arrest a piece of code.
In late 2018, 3 Ukrainians were arrested who were allegedly involved as well.
اوکی 3 نفر دیگه هم دستگیر
The
شدن
Carbonac malware still
ولی
exists
خیلیشون
today.
فرار
The
کردن
hackers
باز
who use it go by many names: Fin7, Joker's Dash, Carbon, and Cobalt Spider. Experts suspect that those Russian cybercriminals
sure.
are given free rein by the Russian government in order to cause chaos in the Western world. Maxim's bank
اوه
lost
از سمت
millions.
دولت
As we
خود
know now,
روسیه
this
کار
could have easily been
میکنن
avoided. The
پشما
Carbonac group exploited a vulnerability in Microsoft Word, one that had already been fixed 3 years prior. But Maxim was too
پشمام
distracted
3
to
سال
install those Windows
بوده
updates. So make sure to keep your
سال
systems up to date.
3 سال اولردی مثلا درست شده بوده با آپدیت اگه آپدیت میکرد ولی آپدیت نکرده بوده 100 تا بانک کل دنیا رو پسر گایده فقط به خاطر اینکه نتونست آپدیت بکنه و حواسش به کس بوده که اونجا بوده من عجب خوشگله گیرم تو آپدیت
It could save
آقا
your
سال مردک یه سری افراد واقعا یه سری کارا رو نباید بکنن بچه‌ها امیدوارم این ویدیو لذت برده باشید اگه اینجور ریاکشن ها رو دوست دارید لایک کامنت سابسکرایب فراموش نشه و تو ویدیوهای بعدی Peace out.